innately, we're not good communicators, any of us. So really, when something is a skill, it has to be developed. And when something has to be developed, it takes time.
Hi, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome to our channel.
I'm Susie.
And I'm Ness, and this is
Mom and Daughter Talk,
where we hope to inspire,
encourage,
and uplift your mother-daughter relationships. Today, we're talking about how to communicate with your mom or daughter.
Mm-hmm. And really, I think we have to start out with what is communication, right? So if two different people have different definitions, kind of like you have different definitions of friendship or what have you, then you're really going to be at a crossroads. So really, for me, I think communication is whatever the person that wants to communicate something, if it is understood by the person on the receiving end. So no matter how that communication comes across, and really a lot of a communication is nonverbal, meaning body language. About 90-something% is body language and not spoken. So that's my definition. And as far as when you're speaking, if the other person doesn't understand clearly what you're trying to convey, then somehow miscommunication has gotten in there. How about you? What are your thoughts, or what's your definition of communication?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off on that. You know, it's like a lot of people think, well, I told you how I feel, so I communicated it to you. Mm-hmm. But I think communication and articulation are two different things. Mm-hmm. You can think you're communicating, but if that other person didn't understand what you were trying to say, like, I don't think you have gotten through to your point. Mm-hmm. And your point hasn't kind of gotten across to the other person who you're trying to communicate to. Mm-hmm. I love using the word articulating more than communication, because I feel like communication, that word is just so like watered down. Mm-hmm. But articulating is like being intentional on like saying it in a way that the other person would understand it. Mm-hmm. Even if you have to say what you're trying to convey 5 different times, which happens with some people who have different communication styles.
Right. What are those communication styles that you're speaking of?
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head, but like I could give an example.
Yeah. So
like if I'm trying to convey to you that I would like you to dye my hair. Mm-hmm. I could say it in different ways, but you might take it in a different way. Right. So I could say, man, my hair sure does need a retouch on the color. Mm-hmm. And then she could be like, okay, I didn't really communicate my point, but to me, I might have communicated it. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, in one way to kind of know that you've effectively communicated and the other person understood. So if she tells me that, Mom, I need my hair dyed, or, oh, I would love to, retouch my hair, then really on the receiving end, I think it's wise to confirm. So to say something like, so did you mean you want to, do your hair, and is this the color that you want? And I think another form of communication is visual, right? So really, and since you brought up hair, I do that as a profession, right? So it's where if someone comes in and saying what kind of haircut they want or what kind of color they want, I ask them, do they have an inspiration picture? Because a picture tells 1,000 words. And so really, someone says, oh, I kind of want it like brown, light brown, then really your light brown may not be my interpretation of light brown. Or caramel is a great color that people will say they want caramel a lot, but like, trying to communicate and be on the same page of what that color is. So I think once someone communicates something verbally, then for the other person to repeat it back and to confirm is a good tool to know that it was truly understood.
Yeah, and that's on, I guess you could say, the offensive side of communication. Mm-hmm. If someone's trying to relay their message and get a certain response. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side, there's like the defensive side of communication, I guess, in a sense, because I feel like on the defensive side, if I am receiving whatever message you're trying to communicate to me, I have to listen to you rather than just hear you. Right. So in listening, I have to be intentional and be like, okay, what are they trying to tell me right now? And I know that's hard, especially when, we're busy. We don't want to listen to somebody right now. We're watching TV or playing a video game. But that's where that intentionality comes in. Mm-hmm. Because if I am listening to you, then I feel like that entails like me stopping what I'm doing to give my full attention to you. And me having an open heart to not try and come up with a solution while you're talking to me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to listen and talk at the same time. As a matter of fact, you can't, right? So I've heard it said before, like, hey, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should be listening more than you should be talking.
Yeah.
So yeah, if someone's trying to communicate something, you keep interrupting them or what have you, then you're really not actively listening. Yeah.
And that's where the attitudes come in, and then nobody's listening.
Yeah, because no one likes to not feel like they're being heard.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a scripture. It says, "Be slow to speak." Nope. Be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it.
Yeah, it will. Also, regarding communication, I think I always like to say it's sometimes, a lot of times, not what you say, but how you say it and the timing thereof. So, sometimes how you say things makes such a difference because you can get your point across, but the way it's said really determines a lot of times how that person on the receiving end gets it or understands it. Yeah.
And it disturbs some people more than others.
Oh, absolutely.
What
do you mean by that, Ness?
Okay. Well, I mean, because I don't think I'm as sensitive to the attitude. Don't get me wrong. I am sensitive to the attitude. If you come in at a certain tone, I mean, I didn't hear a word you said. I'm just listening to the tone. And my personality, I'll probably address the tone before I even know what you came to talk to me about. But yeah, other people, it's like, that's a lot of people. Like, you can't hear past the tone of which the conversation, like the statement was relayed.
Mm-hmm. And since we're talking about mom and daughter, I think that I like to use this example. So for instance, if a daughter is coming to a mother to speak about an issue, what have you, if they come with an attitude and just a certain disrespectful way, it's kind of like in a court of law. Your defense or your point can be absolutely correct. However, how you come into that court and how you approach the bench or how you are as far as toward the judge, really, they won't even listen to your position because they will hold you in contempt of court for being disruptive or coming in a certain disposition. And so I think that's another key point, especially when you're dealing with mom and daughter relationships or, authority versus not authority, the person that's coming to the authority figure really needs to come in a way of being respectful. And also the other way too, but in particular that one, I think in a court of law, that's a great example of they won't hear your point, even if it's 100% right, because of the way you came to the court.
Would you say that you don't hear your children a lot when we come with the attitude?
It's difficult to because kind of like what you said, addressing the attitude, the first thing I feel is disrespected as far as my position. But no matter how it's said, when I go back by myself, then I still have to pick the truth out of it, even if it hurt the way it came or, it wasn't the greatest the way it came about.
So do you think attitudes get caught a lot?
What do you mean?
When we come to you as a daughter, comes to a mom, and we are coming just in our raw emotional state, and we're asking you a question or like saying something and you don't like the tone of it, would you say that you do like catch attitudes back?
That I would have an attitude toward you?
Yeah.
Sometimes, absolutely. Absolutely. Depending on if I've had a hard day or this, and that's what I'm talking about, timing. Sometimes it's best because you have something on your mind to talk about. It doesn't mean you have to say it right then and there. You know what I mean? And that's even good for relationships, any kind of relationships, not just mother and daughter, but really the timing of things, to know that when the environment is such that they'll be able to be more receptive of what you want to hear, especially if it's one of those courageous conversations that you have to have.
And that's why I think setting your boundaries initially in wherever relationship is key, and you also have to know yourself, because if we kind of have sat down already and my mom and I have talked about it, and it's like, when I get home from work, like, give me at least 30 minutes to unwind. Then that allows me to use my discernment and be like, okay, she just got home. I have 10 questions for her, but let me hold them for at least 30 minutes. And then she should be in a more relaxed state, because you're ripping and running, as a mom or especially if we're talking about like authority figure to like a younger person. I think that's key too. And that leads me into the other point I wanted to touch on, which is communication is a skill. It's not innate. I think a lot of people think like, oh no, I know how to communicate. Like I got this.
Right.
But, you know, I really do think it's a skill that you have to hone in. And then there's times you're like, okay, I'm not getting the results I want. Let me take a step back and look what's going on.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely correct. In knowing that innately, we're not good communicators, any of us. So really, when something is a skill, it has to be developed. And when something has to be developed, it takes time, you know? So really, it's those times that maybe perhaps you haven't communicated well are the times that you can really learn from it. You know what I mean? What is it that didn't work? And so next time when you have that opportunity, don't do that because it didn't work and the results were not good.
It takes a lot of patience. Let me lean it. It takes a lot of patience to learn how to communicate, especially because I feel like so many people have different communication styles. And it's like, it can get frustrating at times because when I was finally like aware of the fact that maybe I'm not the best communicator, because I always thought like I was a good communicator. Once I got to that point, then it's like, whoa, you have to do some real work to intentionally try and cater to somebody's communication style. Because I'll use like my mom and dad, for example. Like if I ask you a certain thing, like if you were gone for hours out the day and then you come home and I'm like, where have you been? Like you don't have a problem with that. But if I'm like asking you 3 questions like, oh, where you been? Why weren't you here like an hour ago? Oh, where were you? Like all the things, because I do ask a lot of questions. That might not get on your nerves, but that might get on somebody else's nerves. So I have to watch and I have to shift how I communicate with people.
Yeah, and it's about knowing that other person. But then there's things that are blanket across the board, because let's say you are starting a conversation with a stranger, right? Or in business or things like that. You don't know them, but really I think it comes down to common courtesy as far as don't keep talking to them so much that you're not hearing their side. Like I appreciate people that talk, but I appreciate even more people that talk, but also can listen just as much as they talk. Like I have a friend, she can talk, but she will always say, hey, how do you feel? Or she'll turn the table and give you the floor to address, you know, what you want to address versus dominating the whole conversation. And you can't even get a word in or a breath or anything. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah, I think to communicate, you also have to have like a balanced conversation.
Absolutely. And then think about when I talked about nonverbal communication. So let's say you're in a foreign country and you don't know the language, right? So obviously it's not going to be verbal, but really when it comes down to it, if you're communicating with someone, a smile, a friendly disposition is a universal nonverbal communication, right? So, and really body language and all that can really come to play as far as communicating effectively. Yeah,
that's a good point. What message do you get if I'm like this and you're talking?
Oh, you're not even looking my way. You're not engaged on what's going on here. You kind of, I feel a little disregarded if you turn the other way and I'm trying to talk to you.
What about this? This is popular. You're talking.
Same thing, distracted. You know what's crazy is when I think about when two people go out to dinner and one person is always on the phone the whole time. I'm like, why am I at dinner with this person and we're paying for the meal and it's supposed to be one-on-one and you keep answering texts and calls and all that? It's like, what was the point? What was the point of going out?
That's a great point, especially in our digital age. And I think it's so hilarious that when the digital age just started getting popular, like 10 years ago or whatever, my mom would always be like, why are you always on your phone? Like, you can't live without your phone. I'm talking to you, put your phone away. And now she does it to me.
Sometimes, and I'm dealing with business, but yeah, I have to curtail that too as well.
I love how the tables just turn. Then I can now say, can you put your phone away? Who are you texting? Why are you on your phone all the time?
I tell you 9 out of 10 it's business.
So what?
I said 9 out of 10 times it's business.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of business on the phone. Yeah.
And it's hard, you know, in these busy days and worlds. And that's a great point about the dating. If you're on a date and that happens, I think it would be a good idea. This just came to me, like whoever you are planning to spend quality time with, kind of, just be like, okay, let's not use our phones like while we're together, or, something like that, unless it's an emergency, because I think we just get so carried away and used to being on our phone all the time. We don't even realize, like, it can come off very disrespectful to somebody.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely don't like that. So we hope that helps in talking about kind of verbal communication and body language as well.
Well, thank you for joining us, and make sure you like and subscribe.
My hair look red? No.
No, it does. It looks good.
So pretty. Oh, snap. All that's in the parade.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We will see you next time. Have an amazing day.